Mm-mm. Welcome. This is Majida Bay, and I'm joined by
John Epstein, once again.
yes, and we are wrapping up Financial Literacy Month. April is Financial Literacy Month, and so this month we've been talking about a lot of different topics. We're going to actually recap that later, but today we are going to dive into a topic that you may or may not know a whole lot about. So we want you to definitely stay tuned, listen in, share with a friend, and get right back with us. Good evening. Welcome to Momentum Chat. I am Majida Bay,
And
and
I,
this
John,
is
good to see you guys again, man. This is exciting.
absolutely. Man, this has been a great month, John. We've been talking about some great topics. We've had some avid listeners, right? I've had somebody reach out to me and they're like, when are y'all doing that again? So they've been tuning in every week.
Yeah.
So it's really been exciting just to be able to add value and be able to share some information with people that they may not know. And so to wrap up Financial Literacy Month, we want to talk about the second enemy of money. All right.
Yes.
So if you weren't with us last week, you'd have heard about the first one. But if you're here with us now, we're going to talk about the second one. And then we'll recap what we talked about earlier this month. So the second enemy of money, something that we don't really think a lot about. And can you share with our audience what's inflation?
Inflation, man. I'm not gonna give the Webster's dictionary. We're at a place now in 2021. I'm not even sure how much I would put weight on the Webster's dictionary of anything. But when it comes to inflation, really inflation is simple. It's the buying power of your dollar. That's it. It's the buying power of your dollar. There was a time. I'm a little older. I'll be turning. I'll be turning 50 in October, and I remember a time when I was growing up south side of Chicago. There was this lady down the street who had a corner store, and she had it in her house. Actually, it was on the porch of her house. Back then, where we lived, people had if you actually had a house and you didn't live in an apartment, you had a enclosed porch many times. And this lady had set up a whole store in her house, and we call it a corner store lady. But sometimes, because my grandmother lived in another neighborhood, and that lady actually did live on the corner. But sometimes it wasn't a corner store. But long story short, so this is back in the 70s and 80s. You could go to that lady's house, right? So I would take my allowance, right? If I did my chores and I did it with the right attitude, I would get an allowance, and I don't even remember what it was, but I remember being able to go down there and for $1, right? I got a bag of candy, a pickle, right? So it was like a bag of candy, a pickle. Like you spent time picking out $1's worth of stuff. And
Right.
I got a pickle and a freeze pop, right? Which was nothing but Kool-Aid in a styrofoam cup that she had frozen, right? You would pop it out of the styrofoam cup and flip it upside down because the best juices were at the bottom of it. And like she didn't mix the sugar and the Kool-Aid very well. But as a child, that was a great thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, today that doesn't even exist, first of all right? And even if it did exist, probably nothing in the store is $1, right? If it was, maybe it'd be two things. Maybe you could get, believe it or not, Now Laters was a big candy when I was a kid, and it's still around now, right? Now they just kind of spruced it up and got different flavors, but you could probably get it now. But that's all that is. It's the buying power of your dollar, right? The cost of things is going up, right? The cost of goods and services. And you'll see everybody thinks inflation is just going up. Sometimes the cost of things are going down. For example, so it's an ebb and flow of things. But if you look at the grand scale, cost of everything is going up.
Yeah.
I remember when gas prices were under 99 cents a gallon, right? I just came back from a trip in the particular city I was in. Gas prices were over 330. a gallon.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm talking about for regular 87 grade. Right. So the cost of things are going up. But then I also noticed that certain things, so pay attention when food goes down. Pay attention. For example, eggs. Right. If you wherever you live, if there's a Target is selling a dozen eggs for 69 cents. Right. Which makes me a little skeptical. Like, okay, where did these eggs come from? I don't know why. As I get older, I'm a little bit more conscious about, what am I putting in my body? Like, where did that chicken come from? I don't want to eat farm raised fish anymore. I just noticed I'm having this thing. I'm looking at stuff. I'm okay with paying the higher price, right? So I am still looking for stuff to be on sale, but I like I like wild caught salmon now, right? Wild caught salmon or stuff. It does taste different. I thought it was I thought it was a scam, but it actually does taste different. It's a much livelier taste. But the cost of those things are going up, right? And that's an enemy of your money, because you have to make sure your money outpaces inflation, right? So inflation is on a normal thing, across the board for 4.2%. Okay, right? College goes up about 8% a year. Right. So it all depends on what we're talking about. But if we look at it, just normal goods and services that you and I use, 4. We'll just be nice and say 4%. Right. Which means if your money is earning less than 4% in any given time, you're behind. So in other words, your $1,000 that's in your checking account right now, or your savings account, isn't going to be worth really $1,000. Now, I remember when my wife and I first got married, we could go to a grocery store. Our grocery bill a month, this is going to sound so crazy, and I miss these days, right? Our grocery bill a month was $175. Like, I believe that, yeah. I spend more than that on fruit now. I spend more than that on fruit and vegetables now. Like, we eat mostly vegetables, but I spend more than that on fruits and vegetables easily. I remember one particular month, I spent that on blueberries. Is that crazy? Something's wrong with us, right? But I take that back. Not just blueberries. Blueberries, mangoes, pineapple. So the cost of things are going up. If your money at any given time is not earning enough to keep up with inflation, your money, I'm going to say that phrase again, it needs to outpace inflation. And then you have to minimize taxation. So last week we talked about taxation, right? This week we're talking about inflation, right? And you got to pay attention to both of them. It's just the cost of things, right? A Mountain Dew doesn't cost what it used to. Right? A Coke doesn't cost.
That's a good point, John, because I was looking at something that says that on average, right, the cost of goods and services today are about double what they were 20 years ago. Yeah. And so I've been around to be here at least 20 years. And I remember, like you, gas was under $1, or you could get like 4 bags of chips for $1, right? A little 25-cent bag of chips. Yeah. But that's changed. And so to that point, right, if your money's not outpacing inflation, and if inflation on average is 4%, how can people mitigate that? How can they get their money to earn more? Because we know it's not earning that in the banks, right? Like, it's not earning 4% in the banks. So how can I get my money to outpace inflation?
Well, many things, right? Of course, first of all, making sure your money's growing, it's working for you, right? I used to be a big proponent of saving, right? And I still believe you should have money in savings, right? But now I'm a bigger proponent of investing, right? Making your money work. For years I heard people say the rich get richer and the poor get poor. Well, and what I really found out was the only difference between rich people and poor people is the way they think. It's not really money, right? Because if you think differently, if you change your thinking, it will change your habits. And if you change your habits, you're almost guaranteed to change the result you get, right? So people aren't, who they want to be. They're actually a picture of their habits. So investing is important, making sure that your money's actually doing something, right? Knowing the rule of 72 and how to apply that to your life. A few weeks ago, we talked about the rule of 72, compound interest. What does that look like?
Yeah.
How does it work? Right. Also paying attention to your debt. Right. How much debt do you have? Are you managing it properly? Right. Big
Right.
was a big issue for my wife and I. Big issue for my wife and I. Right.
Same here.
I mean, big. Like it was a problem. And as you learn, right, as you change your thinking, you change your habits, and then your habits will change your results. But yes, definitely. Do you know what, if you're listening to me right now, do you know what your savings account earns in interest? Most people don't, off the top of their head,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, if you have 8 bank accounts like my wife and I, okay, you might not know all of them, right? But if you, right, the one that has the most in it, do you know what interest rate it's earning, right?
Right. Yep.
Look like. Matter of fact, check this out. Not just what interest rate is it earning, what the APY is or the APR. Listen, right? Also, does it pay annually, quarterly, or monthly? That plays a difference, right? And credit unions play that game to make things look better than they may be, right? And if you're
Yeah.
not in, you don't know. So it's just wise that you pay attention, right? I was talking to a young lady yesterday. Um, the dealership I go to for service for my car. So I was in the area. It's not near me. So I was in that area. I just decided to go in and get the car checked out and make sure things
Mm-hmm.
are great, right? So the young lady that works there, she started talking to me about, she knows what I do. So she started talking to me about some specific things. And one of the things I talked to her about was making sure you know what's happening, right? I.e., with your 401k, what interest rate
Yeah.
did last 12 months? Did you open your quarterly statement, right? Are the quarterly statements coming to your house or do you have to log in somewhere? Do you know the login? I'm shocked how many clients, families, when I first get to serve them, right? They don't know that login.
Yeah.
Don't know. They haven't logged in it down, which tells me they have no idea what it's doing. So they definitely don't know if it's outpacing inflation and minimizing taxation. Now, because of
Right.
where we are in the marketplace right now, the people who I've recently done that with, they got a great surprise, right? Because the market is incredible. And so, one of the clients met with me last week before I left to go on this trip with my wife. And so, so it was a Monday, right? He comes into the office, right? He gets his statement. It actually comes in the mail, right? So I pull out
Uh-huh.
his statement, and he's opened the envelope, but you could tell he hadn't looked at it thoroughly. And he's a newer client, right? The client's been with me a long time. That's not an issue, right? But the ones that
Yeah.
he's new. He's only been with me 14 months or something. And so we opened the statement, and he's like, wow, like, you kidding me? And it was a very good return, very good return,
That's
but it was over 30%, right? So
wow. That is good.
this was exciting for him, of course, right?
Absolutely.
But can you imagine? All due respect, can you imagine? Because I don't get to manage his 401k, right? But can you imagine if he had actually been paying attention? Second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, 2020, right? Here we
Mm-hmm.
are. Just finished the first quarter of 2021. And if we made some adjustments, how much more it could have been.
Yeah.
Because the actual funds in his plan did over 50, did over 60%. But,
That's good to know.
because of allocations. So inflation is a tricky thing, right? And you should pay attention to things. And my wife thinks I'm a nut because I guess just because of the way I grew up. I'm the oldest of 9 children. And my mom, as the oldest, you get to see things, right? So
Yeah.
I saw her clip coupons. I know you know what I'm talking about. I saw her clip coupons, and when, by the time I was driving, we lived in a very small town. We lived in a town in North Platte, Nebraska. So my mom was weird in the sense that she knew where everything was on sale. But when she sent me to the grocery store, and I relish, I love the fact that she trusted me to do this, and I could do this for her. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it was a drag as a teenager, but it was.
Right.
I like driving, so it was cool to be able to drive. And then, I mean, really, I was going 6 blocks this way, 4 blocks this way. I wasn't going that far, right? So, but she would send me to all these different stores just because of the prices were on sale. So my wife thinks I'm nuts because I don't do that, but I almost do that, right? Because there's different websites I buy things for the home, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm part of groups that tell me when Walgreens, for example, I just got a bunch of toilet paper and paper towels, and I mean a bunch, and I pay like $12. But I got
Wow.
a lot. Like if I took my camera down to my garage right now, and constantly, because of what happened last year, my wife is like constantly, every time you go to the grocery store, pick up some toilet paper. It's like we don't have this many booties, but okay, sweetheart, because I want her to just feel safe and comfortable. This is her home. She makes our home a castle for me. So it's the least I could do to put her at ease. But those are the types of things I do, right? To hedge inflation. I pay attention to
Yeah.
what I'm paying for. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some stuff that I pay for and what I pay for it. The average human wouldn't do that. They just wouldn't. But I see the value. Like I always say, when the value's right, the cost doesn't matter, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm a huge timepiece guy. There's certain stuff I've yet to spend over $200 for a pair of jeans, though. I know it's a lot of people doing stuff like that. I've yet to spend over $200 for a pair of shoes that weren't dress shoes. Like I don't like me paying over $200 for a pair of tennis shoes that I'm working out in. My brain still doesn't do that yet. It's not that I don't have it. I only wear them to work out, And then
Makes sense.
I'm not into trying to impress people. I mean, I can impress you. I'll just impress you a different way. It won't be what I drive or my tennis shoes. It just won't be that. Yeah. But those are ways. That little one, man. You gotta love her. But those are ways I hedge inflation. I pay attention to what my money's doing. What our money's doing, rather. I don't really have any money. It's our money. So I pay attention to what our money's doing. And then also we invest, of course. We do some things with it. But then also I pay attention to what I'm paying for, grass-fed ribeyes and toilet paper, stuff like that. So
No, that's a good point. Because I've heard you've heard of people called preppers, right? Where they like
yeah,
they
yeah,
buy stuff in bulk, or they buy a large quantity of stuff and store it up just in case. But it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So
absolutely.
putting those things away and storing it up, canned goods or
Yeah,
toilet paper, right? That stuff doesn't get old, right? So
yeah.
that's a great way to, like you said, hedge against inflation, because you
And
never know, right? And can you
right.
talk a little can you speak a little bit to the current climate, right? You spoke about it earlier, I think on a couple calls, our last call, about
Mhm.
how in this current climate, they've printed a lot of money, stimulus packages going out, a lot of
Yeah.
loans and things like that. And so, what should people be preparing, or how can people prepare for
Mm.
a rise of inflation over the next, you said 18 to 24 months, 24 to 36 months? They can expect things to increase in cost significantly. How can people prepare for that?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this is something I don't really like to dive into because it's more political than anything. But it's still math. Um, First of all, I don't have time to go deep into this, right? But you got to understand how our country works. How is money printed, created,
John,
stuff like that. Hey, how are you, young lady?
good. I can do my handspring.
You are so crazy. So anyway, you got to understand how our government works when it comes to money and how. So, for example, the Fed rates and all those types of things, interest rates on mortgages are really low right now, right? There's a shortage on homes, at least in our area, when there's no inventory of real estate. So, depends on who you are. If you're an investor, right? Depends on the type of investor. Should you be buying homes now and stuff like that? So with us as a country, right, in the COVID-19 pandemic, signing stimulus packages of money we don't have. I mean, just think about it from your standpoint, right? As a human being, as a household, right? Can you just spend money you don't have? Can you just go give money that you don't have? And you and I know, long term, no, right? Because at some point that's going to catch up to us, right? So our country technically spending money we don't have. We don't have the revenues coming in to support what we've been signing. So we're basically printing money. Okay. Bad thing is we don't have anything back in it, and we're already in debt to other countries. Okay. So every time they sign a stimulus package, all right, what that does is going to force the Fed rates to be changed. Therefore, i.e., goods and services, inflation is going to go up. Okay. And then inflation going up. So, for example, right now I just talked about Target having dozen eggs on sale for 69 cents, right? 36 months from now, that might be $2. And $2 is the sale. You get me? Because you can't just print money. You got to get that money back from somewhere, right? And I know a lot of people would, in the political world, right? They want to say, well, we just need to tax the rich more, or we need to tax, you heard me talk about Jeff Bezos a little bit, right? But we need to tax the corporations more and stuff like that. Well, I want you just think of it logically. Act like you own the company. You, whoever's listening to me, you own the company. The government is going to increase the corporate tax rate, right, from 20 to 30, whatever. Okay. So let's say it's a 10% increase. Let me tell you what corporations do, right? And we could say they're good, they're bad, they're evil, whatever. Okay. I want you to act like you own the company, right? Normally, all you're going to do is transfer that cost to the consumer.
Consumer, yep, makes
You're just going
sense.
to increase the price of the stuff on your shelf, right? That doesn't make you a bad person either, in my heart, right? It doesn't make you a bad person, right? But that's just what you do, right?
Yeah.
And I do this with the families I serve, with clients of mine all the time. I do this in my faith all the time, right? Put yourself in other people's shoes. It's not that hard. I unfortunately had somebody who get declined on life insurance recently. Excuse me. Got declined in life insurance, right? And in those particular cases, I have a tough conversation with them and say, I want you to understand the insurance company only makes money if they give you a policy. They want to give you a policy, and they want to make sure you live a long time. So because the longer you live, the more premiums they get to collect, right? So this is a win-win for the insurance company here, right? If they give you a policy. But anytime an insurance company tells you they don't want to give you a policy, basically what they just said is, we don't even want to make money on you. You're high of a risk. So the particular person, of course, didn't like that and thought the world was unfair. And then I just asked her, I said, if you own the insurance company, of course, I'm not going to say her name, right? But if you own the insurance company and you own a car insurance company, right? And I have 2 DUIs, several tickets, couple of reckless drivings. Do you want to give me a policy? She said, absolutely not. I said, see, even you understand understand what a risk that would be.
Right.
All insurance is a transference of risk. So why did I tell you that? You got to think like the companies. Put yourself in everybody's shoes when it comes to situations of any kind, and try to see it from their viewpoint. And it gives you a little bit more empathy. It helps you understand things a little bit more, right? And therefore, you don't make blanket statements.
Chocolate.
Okay.
You don't
Chocolate.
right? Yeah,
She
you don't make blanket statements to any group of people, anything, because you don't know them, right? And you don't know their intentions either. But I know just from math, right? You increase inflation increase, right? It's going to be transferred to the consumers, right? And if people are already struggling, I don't really, but I'll play along, right? If people are already struggling, right, that's just going to be a vicious cycle, right? And
Makes
that's what's going
sense.
to happen. It's not. It's. I don't even think that's in my opinion, but it's a bunch of people much smarter than me, economists and all those types of things. I just kind of have common sense. Like that's kind of why none of my clients have had to deal with huge market downturns and losing a bunch of money because I
Yeah,
have a common sense approach to okay, things have been good for a long time. They can't stay here,
yeah,
right? Like the market's been up for a very long time. I think that's how that conversation with the young lady at my dealership started. And she was like, some of her friends, she has some wealthy friends. She was telling me, and they all believe the market's gonna, people like to use the word crash, right?
yeah,
I don't believe in a crash, but right, but the market's gonna have a downturn, and I said absolutely, absolutely. And I just asked her, use some common sense here, right? Even if you're not a person of faith, right? There's ebbs and flows. There's good times and bad times. There's harvest time. There's seed time. There's ups and downs in life. I mean, heck, some of you guys had ups and downs last year or this year. You're in a down right now. You're in a valley right now. Some of you guys are on a mountain, but I promise you, you're coming back to a valley because that's just how a life is. And
yeah,
yeah, so market's been doing very well for a very long time, right? It's coming, right? So
yeah.
so prepare yourself in that way. How do you prepare yourself for stuff like that, right? Get yourself cash heavy. Get
Mm,
yourself get yourself to a position that market crash or real estate stuff go down, right? I don't know why people freak out when the real estate market does something, right? It only affects you if you were planning on selling or buying at that moment, right? But
mm.
if you're in your house and you was planning on staying in your house, you're okay. Like, why are you freaking out? Oh, I lost equity in my home. It wasn't your money anyway, for real. Look, anytime you have to ask to get the money and someone can say no. It has to be both of those. Anytime that you have to ask to get it and someone can say no, it's not really yours. This is simple.
Yeah, that makes sense. No,
Yeah.
that's good, John.
You can
I
have a bunch
certainly.
of equity. You can have a bunch of equity in your home, and you want to take out an equity loan, right? But you got shoddy credit, or you just lost your job, or you've been out of work for X. Right? There might be some lenders that say absolutely not.
Right.
Why? Because you don't have the means to pay it back.
Yep, makes sense.
So is it really yours?
Mm.
Just saying.
Having access doesn't necessarily mean it belongs to you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good
And some
stuff.
people heard me. Some people heard me, and they didn't think. I didn't say you have to pay it back. I said, right, if you got to ask somebody and they can say no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even getting into the payback part. All right. It might
That's
not be your
good.
money. So
I like that. Get cash heavy. I know one of the things I had this conversation actually with a client of mine just last week or the week before, and we were talking about inflation rising and things like that. And something that I've done in the past, and I've just recently picked back up, is buying commodities. Right, I'll use that term. Right,
okay.
commodity. And I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to advise people to do that because it may not be
Right.
the right thing for you. Right,
Exactly.
but that's also a way to hedge against inflation. Right, the cost of
Yep.
those things can increase in value, and you can kind of hold the value. So um, that's one of the ways that I'm trying to put some money away to get cash heavy because you can always trade those things back in for money later on after the value goes up. So I appreciate you sharing. I know inflation, like I said, it's not a sexy topic,
No.
but hopefully those that were listening got some insight and something we say all the time and I like how you put it earlier that wealthy people think differently. so they have different habits, so they get different results. Well, something that I share with my clients, wealthy people simply anticipate what could happen and they prepare for it. And so we want you to do the same. Anticipate the things that may be coming up, right? John talked about how, the market's been up for a while. Things have been going great for people. People have getting some really good returns. So expect the valleys, right? Anticipate the valley and prepare for it. So, okay, guitar, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
So prepare for the valleys. And this month we've been talking about wealth, right? Building wealth, right? We've talked about the wealth formula. So I'm just going to recap what we've talked about this month. If you haven't been with us for the last 4 weeks, you can go back and look at those episodes. But we're just going to recap the topics, kind of hit them real quick. And so the first topic, the first week we talked about your two greatest assets, time and money. All right. So can you just give a quick synopsis, John, of why time and money is important in building wealth? Yes.
Well, most people are trying in the market especially come investing, people are trying to time the market when really it's more about time in, right? The longer you're in, the better it is, right? And time can be your enemy or your ally. Time can be your enemy or your ally. So that's really the sooner you start, the better. You don't need a lot to start. You just need to start, right? And then time can work for you or against you, right? And the longer you wait, procrastination, right, is the biggest nation in the world. And I remember someone said that to me a long time ago, and it caught me. Procrastination is the biggest nation in the world, and procrastination always costs more. So time, that's time. What was the other one?
Money.
Oh, money. Well, hey, your strongest wealth building tool you have is your cash flow, is your income, right? The money you bring in, right? That's the strongest wealth building tool you got. And some people, it's the rule of 72. It's really your income, right? Because you can know the rule of 72, all of that type of stuff, but if you ain't got no money to put in there, it don't help nothing, right? So, yeah, do your best to go make some more money. It's not a sin. I looked it up. All right, go make some more money. Go put some money away. Go use your talents. Look for your gift, right? How did God create you? How did He make you? Rick Warren talks about something called a shape all the time, right? And I don't have time to give a lesson on it, but it's an acronym, I guess you would say, of shape, what S stands for and P stands for and all that type of stuff, right? But if you go find what you love to do, what you would do even if you didn't make any money, I have a funny feeling that you'll just be successful, right? But then find other hustles too. Find some side hustles, right? If you have time to watch TV, you have time to build another side hustle. If you have time to Netflix or even Instagram, right, you have time to build something else. And money isn't as hard to come by as we try to make it out to be. I'm shocked how many people make 6 and 7 figures from Instagram and Amazon and eBay. So that's it for that, Majida, I think.
Okay, time and money. Good stuff. All right, so the second
as money. Start seeing your time as money. I can make another 100 grand. I can make another $500,000, but I can't get another 30 minutes. So put the right priorities on the
board. That's good. I like that. Start seeing your time as money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just
Mommy,
add that.
wow,
Yeah, start seeing your time as money. So we talked about time. We talked about money. The second week, we talked about interest rates, right? Your rate of return. So give us a quick synopsis of why knowing what your money's earning is important. You've talked about it a little bit tonight, in terms of inflation and how it affects that. But
right. When it comes to knowing what your money's doing, right? We talk about inflation, or that was inflation, but also rate of return. What is your money doing? Is it earning 5%, 6%, 7%, Are you paying attention to it? Now, I'm not talking about paying attention to. If you're passively investing, i.e., a 401k, IRA, some mutual funds, ETF, something like that. If you're that's kind of passive investing, right? You should at least be looking at it every quarter. You don't need to be looking at it every day. Right? I remember I used to have a client who looked at her. She was part of the thrift savings plan. She's opening that thing every day and trying to make changes to it every day, right? Until I broke down to her, but even if you made an adjustment today, it doesn't go into effect until 4 o'clock tomorrow, right? So you may have missed something, or so you may have changed your mind. So that's something you probably should look at every quarter, right? Have a second set of eyes looking at it. So hire people like myself, like Majida, right, and all the other people we work with, but have somebody who has a different set of eyes looking at those things. Look, one of the things I learned just as a person, just being in leadership, right? Especially when I was in, playing basketball, but then also as an adult and in a business world and in a business setting, you can't, when you're in the bottle, you can't read the label. When you're in the bottle, you can't read your own label. So it's certain stuff you can't see about you, about your own financial stuff, about your own. You just can't see it as a coach, right? Why does Tiger Woods have a coach? Why does LeBron have a coach? Better yet, why did Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant have a coach outside of their team's coach? Why?
Right.
They can't see, they can't read their own label when they're in the bottle. Right. So it's always better to have somebody else helping you take a look at things. Right. Now, of course, it should be somebody you trust. Somebody, I've said years ago, I still say it to this day. I've always believed this. I still believe it. Most of us don't do well financially, especially in the United States, because we don't know where to start. We don't know what questions to ask, and we don't know who we can trust. Right. And that was me 21 years ago. Right. And I believe that's a lot of people today. Right. Hopefully this time that we spend with you and doing this talk and stuff like that, it got your juices flowing. You got to move your brain a little bit, right? Hopefully I gave you some insight, Majida and I, on where to start. I'm really upset that just because of the stuff we talk about, it creates questions in you. So then you know what questions to ask, right? And now you just got to figure out who you can trust, right? And a referral is best. I've built my entire firm and all of my clientele through referrals. All right, because that means somebody else is vouching for me, and I always promise them I'm gonna make them look good. So, and so far so good. 20 years at this, and so far so good. I've made everybody who referred me somebody, I made them look good. So
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so that was week 1 and week 2.
yeah,
Income, time,
yeah,
interest, right? Rate of return.
rate of return.
And so our third week, we talked about taxes. All right.
Yeah.
The enemy of money, the first enemy of money. So
Yeah.
explain to our audience, why is taxes something that you have to look out for and be aware of, anticipate in order to build wealth?
Well, like we said, it's an enemy of your money. And if you don't know the tax codes, you don't know the laws of the land, you can end up paying more taxes than you need to pay. See, I don't mind paying taxes. I just mind paying too much. All right. So if there's systems in place, there's things in the tax code that can allow me to not pay as much and use the code to my benefit. Right. They wrote it. I didn't write it. All right. So you should do that. You should know that. Right. It may sound weird. Right. I guess you would say we're in tax season. I think this is still what that's called. Right. So.
Yeah.
Because the people I deal with, they pay taxes all year long. I'm always referring people to good tax preparers, accountants, CPAs that I know, vice them doing it on their own. And I'm not saying people aren't smart enough to do it on their own, but somebody who does this all day, every day. I'm not talking about the person who works at I'm not going to say names, but such and such places, once, twice a year. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who do this all day, every day. This is what they do, right? Those type of people, they know the new tax codes that have come out. They know the new stuff, right? And unfortunately, even the systems we use, right, i.e. TurboTax, even the IRS website doesn't have all of that stuff implemented into their little systems, right? So I'm
Yeah.
always referring people to good people who I know who have made me look good because I refer them people, right? And they know if I refer you, you better make me look good. And I always check in with them. They say, "Hey, how's it going with so and so?" And right, I'll ask my clients, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, thank you for referring me to her," or "Thank you for referring me to her." And it's just what it is because taxes. If you understood the ways you could do things differently, right? Everybody complains about taxes, but then when it comes time to do something about it, it's amazing to me how many people don't want to take the steps. But if you
That's
have
true.
that enemy, you're going to end up with a lot less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If you can
that's
minimize taxation, you can keep more of the money that you make. And every dollar that you keep, right? Every dollar that you don't pay in taxes, I think our mentor says this all the time. Every dollar that you don't pay in taxes is a dollar you get to keep, and it
yep,
can work for you. So
yep,
that's huge. That's huge. And of course, this week we talked about inflation. So the wealth formula: you need money, you need time, and you need a good rate of return. You have to have all
yep.
those three to get started.
All
And
three,
then you have to subtract, right? Taxes and
and then
inflation
yep,
in order to build wealth, right? So those are factors in the equation as well. And if you're not outpacing inflation and minimizing taxation, you're actually not going to build the wealth that you want. So for people who talk about building generational wealth, right, you got to have a plan. So can you share with our audience, John, why is it important to have a written financial plan in order to build wealth, right? Like it's not just something that you're going to do by accident. Why is it important to have a plan? You talked about having a professional and things like that, but why is it important to have that plan in place?
okay. Well, really, let me tell you this: you should have a plan for anything, not just your financial life, right? I have a plan for my marriage. It's written, but I have a plan for my marriage. I guess that's how we made it 20 years, right? And we're constantly revisiting the plan. It's kind of very simple, right? Everything that has been built, everything that has been built, right? And I mean this built solid, right? Was built 3 times. Stay with me. I know. It's built 3 times. First, it's built in your mind. It had to be thought up. The home I'm sitting in right now, it had to be thought up first. My office, it had to be thought up. It had to be put in somebody's brain first. Somebody else envisioned it first, right? The second time it was built, the second time it was built on paper. It was built in plans, right? Nobody started building this house without blueprints, if you will, right? So same thing with your financial life. You need a blueprint of what are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? Why? When? You're right. What's the game plan? What does that look like? Right. A lot of people are buying financial products, whether it be some mutual funds, insurance, Bitcoin, whatever the case may be, but they don't have a plan. So all of that stuff, you don't really know what it's going to do at all, right? And that's why if the market does crash or go down or have a downturn, whatever the case may be, that's when people start freaking out because they don't have no plan. All right. So it's built. That's the second way it's built. It's built on paper. So you need a financial plan. Majida and I are open to help you in doing that. Now, I'll be honest, we don't take everybody on as a client either. Right. I don't know if she liked that part that I threw out there. But I don't believe in working with mental root canals. I just don't. I'm not gonna waste my time. I see my time as money. Actually, my time's more than money. It's worth more than money. Right. So any half an hour I spend with someone, right, and it doesn't create a return for them and me, because I believe every business transaction should be a win-win situation for everybody involved. But if it doesn't create that for me, in my mind, that was an hour I could have spent with my daughter. That was an hour I could have spent holding my wife's hand, which I like doing. That's an hour I could have been on the phone with my mom, right? Because I noticed when I call her, we're normally on the phone an hour. And I love the fact that I get to have that hour, and I love the fact that I have the freedom to have that hour with her. Love it. I mean, absolutely love it. Any of my brothers or sisters call, right, and I need to, be on the phone with them for an hour. I like doing that, right? So I don't want to do it for somebody who doesn't really want my help, right? So, but Majida and I are
Yeah.
open. The firm we're with, World Financial Group, we have a program to help people write out a plan for you, figure out a plan. Now, if you follow the plan, that's different, right? But I can definitely map out a plan. I've done thousands of them now. Wow, I can say that.
Hmm.
God, I've been here a long time, right? I've done thousands of them, right? And the people who follow them, it works, man. They get to where they want to go, and some of them get to where they wanted to go faster than I wanted to get, faster than when I wanted to get where I wanted to go. So very important you have a plan. It's you don't build a dream house, right, and not have plans. You just don't. You don't just go out and start buying granite and hardwood floors, and you don't know what the thing's gonna look like. It doesn't make sense. But financially, most of us in our world today do that. We do exactly that. We build a house, financial house, without a plan, and that's why it's so important. And here's the cool thing about a plan. Even scripture talks about this, right? Once you actually have a plan, even if you're not here, the plan can still be achieved.
That's good. I actually want to talk to you about something related to that. We'll save that for offline.
Okay.
But that's important, right? Like that's another step to developing your financial plan while you're here, having a financial plan when you're no longer here. So that's huge. That's huge. Um, John, it's been a pleasure. I've had a lot of fun this month. I was trying to think about like what can we talk about next month, right? We've given them the wealth formula. Now now you gotta like implement it. You gotta actually put it in place. So I was like actually looking at like, okay, this was financial literacy month. What's in May, right? And there's like, I don't even know. They have like a ton of national months in May, right? Like I guess every month has like a whole suite of different, right? National
Yeah.
Chamber Music Month is next
Yeah.
month. National Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month, National Blood Pressure Education Month. So there's a ton of stuff that we could talk about. But related to the work that we do, there
Mhm.
were a few in there. Blood Pressure Education Month. It's also National Stroke Awareness Month and National Mental Health Awareness Month. So
It's a big one.
next month, I want to pivot to living benefits, long-term care, right? Have that conversation because something that you mentioned earlier in terms of risk assessment, in terms of insurance, right? It's important to understand how those things, your mental health, as well as your physical health, can impact your insurability, but it can also impact your wealth,
Yes.
right? So, something you don't always think about when you talk about having that plan, right? Taking care of your health is an important part of that plan.
Hmm.
So, I want to pivot next month and have that discussion about how things like stroke and cancer and mental health can have an impact on your ability to build wealth. Like even when you want to build wealth,
Hmm.
there could be some factors that could actually inhibit you, right? Outside of what we talked about this month, taxes and inflation, right? You could add some other factors that you can actually control to help you better build wealth, right? I've had situations as well where clients have been declined due to risk assessment.
Hmm.
And so they want to protect their wealth. They want to build wealth for their families, but at the present moment, they're not in the best position to do it.
Right.
And that it kind of breaks your heart because you're like, this person wants to do better. They want to implement a plan, but because of some decisions that they've made in their past or some factors that they didn't consider, they're unable to move forward when they want to. So
Yeah.
I definitely want to address that next month. Hopefully, give some people some insight into how that really is right. It says your health is your wealth, and it's really true. It might sound cliche, but it does have a impact. So, anything you want to say about that, John, before we sign off?
Every decision you make today affects you tomorrow. Every decision you make today affects your tomorrow. And what you're talking about is, and I see this all the time too. Especially, hey, I did it when I was younger. I didn't think life insurance was important. Why do I need that? Or when I was in the United States military, I thought that what I had with them was enough and stuff like that. And then I got educated, right? And I realized I've never had enough to prepare for the family, to prepare to take care of my family the way I want to, right? Not the way society expects me to. So it's shocking how you don't think about these things. But you said it earlier, rich people, right? And when we talk about rich poor, we're not talking about money really. We're talking about the way you think.
Yeah.
The rich anticipate, right? They anticipate that they'll get sick one day. They'll anticipate that they're going to pass away one day. They anticipate they're going to need to go to a nursing home. Or let's say you don't want to go to a nursing home. You want to be able to stay at home and maybe have somebody take care of you. Maybe your child will take care of you. But the bad thing is when you expect your child to do it, but you don't plan for it. That's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And in this day and age, we've seen that happen thousands of times, where a child, actually my generation, the X generation, was considered, actually the baby boomers and the X generation, were considered the sandwich generation. The sandwich generation. Why? Because there was a time when, at the same time we're taking care of our children, having children and taking care of children, we're also taking care of our parents.
Mm-hmm.
The boomers probably dealt with that more than my generation. But why is that? Well, some things weren't prepared for, planned for, looked after. So just remember that phrase. Every decision you make today affects your tomorrow. What you eat next affects tomorrow. What you smoke next affects your tomorrow. What you drink next affects tomorrow. And then once you understand that, you'll make better decisions, and actually it just become a lifestyle. So I'm looking forward to spending some time next month diving into those types of things. And I just felt privileged to be able to do this and share what little knowledge I have to the people who may listen in or listen to it. So look forward to it next week, Majida.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm super excited. And so, hey, if you know of somebody who could benefit from the conversation we've had and that we're going to have next month, share this message, right? Share the link. Let them know we're here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. with Momentum Chat, just bringing you insight, education from our experience and knowledge about how you and your family can really build wealth and what it really takes, right? I love having these kind of candid conversations and helping people to ask those questions, right? Think about some things that maybe we never considered. So, thank you once again, John. For those that don't know, right, we're like, oh, I'm John and Majida. Like, who are you, right? So John is actually a senior financial broker with our company, Wealth Financial Group. He's been in this industry for over 20 years. He's a husband. He's a father, right? You've heard him talk about his family. And I am Majida Bay. I call myself your financial conductor. I help parents and professionals get on the right financial track. And, right, the caveat here, become someone both their children and parents can be proud of. And so we're really, really excited about the information that we're bringing you. And we hope that you're taking notes, but don't just, right? Knowledge is not power, right? Applied knowledge is power. So do something with the information, right? Reach out to John, reach out to myself, find a way to move in a different direction, move forward, right? Don't just take this information and keep it to yourself or just sit on it. Find a way to actually implement it and actually apply it to your life so that you can get closer to where it is you want to be. So thank you, John. We look forward to seeing you all next week. And y'all have a great evening.
Have a great night.